Yep. Here we go, people. Welcome to Saturday morning. This is James W. Falcon with Encouragement is Key. Thank you so much for joining, studio. You know, I can always count on your participation. Thank you. I can't thank you enough, studio. I'm going to give a few more people some chances and opportunities to join us. Hey, hadn't planned at all to do this life coaching series today. Thanks for joining. I really hadn't. I was going to pick it up maybe Tuesday. I always like to try to do when I do these segments. Thank you so much for the hearts. When I do these segments, I always try to do at least 5 parts. I like to do a whole week's worth when I do these series because I really feel like it brings value to it. I know everybody's into the microwave thing where you do, a lot of scopers do, a 5 or 10 minute piece and that's sufficient for them. But I like to bring a little bit more meat and potatoes to the meal. It's just my style, my presentation. Thanks so much for joining. So that's what these are about. And by the way, as I'm giving people an opportunity to join us more time, the first 2 segments of this life coaching series, Lessons from Snow Removal, are actually out on my YouTube page. Thanks for joining. So go out to James W. Falcon on YouTube to my channel, Encouragement is Key, and you'll see the first 2 postings. Was having some technical difficulty. I'm not the electronically savviest person. I get along for an old guy. Thanks so much for joining. Thank you for the heart. So go out to my YouTube channel, James W. Falcon. Check out the very first 2 episodes, I think it is, part 1 and part 2. I'm going to get part 3 up here in just a bit. Hey, I missed doing the morning glide with y'all yesterday. I was so amped about yesterday's broadcast. I got a lot of great things happening. And I closed up shop after I did the broadcast. I was like flying high. If you haven't noticed, I tend to be a little excitatory. I'm totally addicted to Periscope. I love this medium. This is awesome. Thanks for joining. So I packed up. I came downstairs. I was here in my living room, and I'll tell you about why the set looks different. It's important in just a second. I hit the front door right over here to my left, touched the doorknob, had all my jazz, was headed out to the car to go to work, and I get a phone call. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm thinking, this can't be good. It's one of those kind of times when your phone rings and you kind of sheepishly pick it up thinking, okay, it's got to be some bad news on the end of this. And it was my second to oldest daughter. So I have 4 girls. Anybody that knows James W. Falcon knows at some point in a discussion, if I'm doing anything live, at some point in anything that I've recorded and posted on all of my social media sites, with the exception of one, I talk a lot about my girls. I got 4 gorgeous princesses, I call them, that range in age from 9 to 29. I also have a goddaughter sandwiched in there, so I'm surrounded by the female psyche, and I'll tell you about that in just a second. Anyway, my second to oldest, I'm so proud of her. She's such an awesome woman, and she is pregnant. I'm not only the father of 4 girls, thanks for the hearts, thanks for joining, everybody, but I'm also a grandfather. Hey, how are you, friend? I'm also a grandfather. They call me Pop, not Big Papa, but Pop. Hey, how you doing, my friend? And I'm proud of that. So my second to oldest has 4 children currently, and she is pregnant with my 5th grandchild, right? I'm so excited about that. So at any point in time, hey, thank you. Hello, Papa. Yeah, that's me. At any point in time, I could get a phone call where she's saying, Dad, I'm on the way to the hospital, right? So that's what I thought that was yesterday. I pick it up, and she was like, Dad, where are you? And I'm like, I'm at home, princess. What's going on? And it's early in the morning, right? I'm trying to get to the car so I can do the morning glide. And so she's like, Dad, are you at work yet? Are you leaving? So I'm like, Princess, just spell it out. What's wrong? She said, Dad, I got something going on in my ear, and it's hurt me really bad. Can you take me to the ER? I'll be right there, Princess. So I took her to the ER, and it was an ordeal for her, unfortunately, that lasted most of the day yesterday. But she is home and resting. And they were able to get, she had a little issue in her inner ear. It's important because she's pregnant. She is due literally in like 2 weeks. So I wanted to make sure that my baby girl had her balance and everything as she was doing her mothering. Anyway, that was me. So I didn't get a chance to do the morning glide. Good morning. What's the morning glide, you might ask? The morning glide is me doing what I do in my car on my way to work. I'm not a coffee drinker, and so if you see me with a cup of coffee in my hand, it's been a very long, hard night. I'm a morning person by nature. I've been most of my life. My day typically starts around 2 to 4 in the morning. I'm up, and I'm up. I'm washing clothes. I'm washing dishes. I'm cooking meals. I'm doing stuff. My day begins. I'm ironing my clothes. I'm doing broadcasts. I'm thinking about my next broadcast. I'm writing. I'm doing poetry. I'm up. My day starts. And so by the time I get to work, I'm almost tired. But what I like to do to get jazzed to go to work is I throw on some tunes. It's my cup of coffee. And I start bouncing all the way to work. I got about a half hour, 45-minute drive to work, depending on traffic. It's not so much the distance, but the traffic situation here in Baltimore. So I like to get amped and pumped. And I started broadcasting it on Periscope, inviting people to join me. And it's kind of a hit. So I was looking forward to doing my morning glide yesterday, but didn't get a chance to because I had the awesome privilege of doing what a dad does. So anyway, enough about that. Let me give you a couple quick pieces of information here. We're going to jump into this lesson. This is lesson number 4. What is the secret to becoming a morning person? That's a very good question. I honestly think it's just the way you're wired. Like, I got 4 babies, and not a single one of them are morning people. None. Their mother was not a morning person. I am truly the odd duck out in terms of being a morning person. I literally think it's the way you're wired. My mother was a morning person. My dad was a morning person. My brother is a morning person, And with the 4 of us as the nucleus of the family that I grew up in terms of my childhood and what I watched these 3 individuals, brother, mother, dad. Their days started very early, and I think there was a little season in elementary school where, my mom and dad used to prank me to get me out of bed, like putting water on my face and cold and warm washcloths to get me up. But I just truly believe it's the way you're wired. And I don't mean to say if you're not a morning person, you're not productive, you're not intelligent. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying there are only 2 kinds of people in the world. You're either a morning person or you're not. So I really don't know what the secret is, to be honest with you. I can tell you this, though. Because I get up so early in the morning, y'all, my day officially starts. I punch into work at about 9 o'clock. You figure if I'm up at 2, do you realize the stuff I get done? I want to do a whole series on this here in the next couple of weeks. But as a morning person, you know how you typically say to yourself, man, I wish I had a few more hours in the day. I do. It's ridiculous. The stuff I get done in the course of a day is absolutely ridiculous. Thanks for joining. And it's refreshing because I typically don't carry around these laundry lists. Thank you for the hearts. These laundry lists of things to do. I get stuff done. And it's funny because what I've been doing over the last few years, sometimes I reinvest that time in my actual paid job. By trade, I'm a call center professional. I work for a local community college here. Got a great opportunity that I stepped into back in July. Incredible boss, incredible team. I'm the director of a operation that registers students for college, right? Anyway, phenomenal setup. So I usually start that at 9 o'clock. But I don't spend a lot of time reinvesting in work. I do a few emails here and there and think through proposals and projects, but I typically do that the other way. Going back to whoever you were for about being a morning person. So the one thing that I realized about couple things I realized about being a morning person is not only do I think it's the way you're wired, but it has to do with the rhythm of your body. Like being a morning person, I do all of my heavy lifting, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual stuff between the time I wake up and say about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. After 2 o'clock in the afternoon, if I have the option, if my boss or somebody, or if there are any troubling situations in my personal life, I tend to not spend after 2 p.m. on those kind of things. Because at that point, I'm mentally starting to slow down, right? So what I learned about my body's rhythm is 2 a.m. to about 11-ish in the morning is my time. Give me a project. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to get it done. I'm going to do the master planning thing. I'm going to jump in this thing, eyebrows deep. I'm going to swim in it. I'm going to look at it from different angles. I am energetic. I'm pumped. I'm on fire. I'm psyched. I'm jazzed. I'm juiced. After 2 p.m., I'm like, what? You want me to do what? Thanks so much for the hearts. I'm like, man, I can't help you. And I table that until the next day. So that's another thing, if that helps, is knowing your body's rhythm. When are you the most alert? When are your senses heightened? I remember there was one point in time, because at one point I was working 2 full-time jobs, and it was just not a whole lot of time to do anything. And then I've been involved in some really, really heavy projects personally at different points in time. And so when my time has to change, when I have to sleep at certain hours and I'm really having to rest to overcompensate for energy expenditures, the one thing that I would realize is that my high points during the course of the day would be at different times. There was one point where my high point was after 8 p.m. And that means that I needed to do all my heavy lifting, emotional, physical, spiritual things that require, some things really pull from you. They make you get engaged. They force you to go to the next level. Figure out when that time is in your lives. And I'm telling you, folks, you're going to become much more productive, because if somebody gives you something, you'll know, okay, yeah, I got a good window of time where I can get started on this. Or I'm going to push it off until the next high point. And those high points change. For me, they've remained in the mornings just because the world that I've kind of lived in and created allows that. But there have been different points in time where that time where I'm most alert has been during the course of the day. I'm all off on a tangent, nowhere close to where I wanted to be, but I think this is good stuff, and I don't mind at all. So whatever questions, comments, anything you have, I'll try to address those. So I'm just appreciative of you all's time. Because it's Saturday, I'm going to take a little bit more time today, so I hope you don't mind. So jump in and out, as you need to. Lesson number 4. Oh, I'm sorry, a few more announcements. So today at 2 p.m., I'm launching the leadership. No problem. Hey, I rant quite a bit. I'm just glad that you're appreciative. No problem. Thanks for joining. Today at 2 p.m., I'm going to launch the leadership division of Encouragement is Key, which is the network that I've been building for the last 5 years. I'm really pumped about that, because there's some science behind leadership that will actually guarantee you success in terms of performance. If you are a person in a current leadership role, or if you are a person aspiring to be in a leadership role, this series that I'm going to do starting today at 2 p.m. right here on Periscope, and I'll probably do it for the next 2 to 3 Saturdays at the same time, I'm going to give you some research, because I found some. I did a master's degree in 2009, 2010. It was an accelerated 13-month course. Does that make me special? No, I'm not saying that. And I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I'm just saying in the course of that study, I stumbled across a lot of information, y'all, that has been really, really helpful. Some of it was just discovering brand new, like light bulb went on, boom. Other things were things that I had been doing or things that I had heard that I actually found the empirical evidence to support. Yeah, this stuff actually works. So I'm going to be talking about that this coming up today at 2 o'clock, and it's called Next Level Leadership. So check that out, and there's going to be a book following and all that. So that's going to be really, really good. I'm going to be doing a poetry workshop coming up in April-ish, somewhere around there. I call into a radio show that's an open mic radio show that takes place through Blog Talk Radio, which is internet radio online. And the host and I have developed a good rapport. So she asked me when I was celebrating the release of my 3rd book of poetry, Leadership for Adults, what about guiding Baltimore youth leadership? Damn good question. It's funny because the platform that I'm building, Encouragement is Key, I just connected with a young lady that I had asked to join me, because to me, 2016 is about building a team, because I've been doing everything I've been doing so far as a soloist. So I'm building a team, and I've got 3 people in the mix. There's 2 gentlemen and 1 young lady. She and I are going to be putting together some things for Baltimore, for the youth, for communities, because Encouragement is Key is going to function on every level. The leadership component is for businesses and professionals. I had a chance to be a professor to the college where I got my master's. I taught a bachelor's course on organizational development. So there's the scholastic component, the collegiate component, but there's also the grassroots in your community, right in your face components that are all a part of this. If there is a reason that somebody needs to be encouraged, and if there is some material that I can bring some value to, that's part of encouragement is key. So awesome point. Just so you all know, I don't mention this a lot, but at one point long ago, I used to be in ministry. I was a pastor at one point in time, right here in Baltimore, and I tore East Baltimore up. The churches that I was a part of, we did a lot of grassroots stuff. There was a point in time where I was actually the director of a nonprofit food distributorship right here in Baltimore. And we distributed millions of pounds of food right here in Baltimore, right here in East Baltimore is where I am. And I used to drive a forklift in our warehouse, and I would take these huge wooden bins of fruit, vegetables. No lie, this is no joke at all. Part of what I do is I know how to connect with companies and do presentations to get resources. And while I was the director of this nonprofit organization, I contacted Tyson's Chicken. This was back in, 98, 99, 2000. And, man, I can't believe it's that long ago. And I got Tyson's Chicken, true story. I got Tyson's Chicken to donate 25,000 pounds of chicken. They were frozen chicken pieces, parts, wings, wingettes, whole chicken pieces, nuggets from Tyson's Chicken. True story. I hounded them for about 2 months, presented my letter, told them what we were going to do. We got 25,000 pounds of chicken that came into the East Baltimore community here, right where I live. People were blessed. We were handing them out. Now, the way the network was set up was that the food would go to churches, soup kitchens, food pantries, and folks that had operations, after school programs, people that had operations that required meals. So we would support that group, and there were 230 soup kitchens and different churches that were involved in that network, and then they in turn would give it. But there would be points in time where I literally would have so much food left over that I would take it to, I would drop it on the street corner. Hey, everybody, here's, 1,000 pounds of bananas. And people would come with their brown paper bags and they would load up. I mean, it was a real blessing. Anyway, so those are the kind of things that I do with this whole network of encouragement is key. Thank you so much for asking that question. Okay, so the set you can see is a little bit different. I'm here in my living room as opposed to being upstairs in my bedroom. Here in the studio is what I'm calling it. Because this is going to be where, thanks for joining, this is going to be where I'm going to do the leadership piece later on today. Okay? A few shouts out to some folks. There's no way in the world that my network is going to be able to provide everything that you need. I appreciate the time that you all have spent investing in watching me and listening to me. Try to share some information that I feel is helpful and practical while I'm clowning around in the process. Can you say hi to my friend Simon? Hey, friend Simon. This is James Falcon from Encouragement is Key. And good morning to you, to both of you, as a matter of fact. Thank you so much for that shout out. Thank you, Kerrison, for joining. So what was I saying? So other people that are out there, let me just give some referrals and then we're going to get going. So my firstborn, Marae, is engaged, and she found herself a wonderful man who does exactly what I'm doing. He does encouragement-based things. He's much better at it. He's been doing it a lot longer. He actually travels and he does different presentations. He and I are going to get together hopefully sometime soon and maybe do a collaborative piece. But his name is Justin Morgan. Justin Morgan. Follow him on his YouTube page. He's developing a network that's called Future Builders, and he is amazing. Isn't it funny, ladies out there? Pay attention to what I just said. My daughter found a man like her dad. Okay, I mean, that's a whole segment right there by itself, right? Anyway, chew on that for a minute. So I'm really proud of her and him. Check out Justin Morgan, Future Builders. He's got some really good information. Emmy winner Mario Armstrong. I went to high school with this guy. I can personally vouch for him. Not that he needs vouching. But he is amazing. Mario Armstrong started off as a tech guru right here in Baltimore, worked for the mayor's office, had a radio show segment on Morgan State University's radio, and the dude is frequently doing Today's Show, Steve Harvey, Rachel Ray. Thanks so much for joining. I mean, he is blown up, and in the course of that, he won an Emmy. I think it was last year or maybe the year before. Hey, what's happening? So check out Mario Armstrong, because not only is he a good friend, he's a fraternity brother. We went to high school together. Our fathers became friends as they sat in the stands and watched us play basketball. But he's got a unique model that he's going to launch here, and his Periscopes are talking about this model. I don't want to steal any thunder. Check him out. Tune into Mario Armstrong, and you'll be blessed. Also, I want to give a shout out to a personal friend who's probably still on this broadcast, Studio Cafe, an amazing woman. Now, I'm gonna promote her for a quick second, if y'all don't mind. Studio Cafe speaks 4 languages, I believe. She is a poet. She's an author. She's a life coach. She's an amazing woman. She is a photographer. Did I say that? She performs poetry and does a lot of things here in the community. An amazing woman that I happen to, by the grace of God, connect with. What studio? Summer before last? Anyway, so we've hung out a bit, and we're doing some collaborative things. She's the kind of person you want to connect to, because she's got a Periscope broadcast that she's doing, a series of topics she's going to be doing. But I don't know that I know many people that have the depth of understanding about things that she does. So she's somebody that you want to catch a hold of and stay close with and follow as well. All right, I jabbed a lot. Let's get into the lesson. Number 4, and this one's called proper footing. Okay. Now we're talking about lessons from snow removal, and basically what happened was when we got dumped on in the latest blizzard here in the Northeast, it was our deepest amount of snowfall since 1928. Threw us for a loop. It took me 2 weeks to dig out. I just dug out. How old am I? Very, very good question. I am 19. What do you think? Good for 19, isn't it? Huh? No. I'm 46 years old. Just turned 46 this past Wednesday, as a matter of fact. This first series that I did on this, lesson number 1, was actually on my birthday. I figured, what the heck? Why not start off a brand new year? So hope that helps. So I was digging out my backyard this past Sunday because I had done the front, did the walkway, porch steps, dug my car out. My car was finally free to drive, but I was lazy, I'll admit it. I hadn't dug out my backyard. And while I'm digging out 2.5 foot of snow, digged off the deck, the porch, and I'm making this pathway 20 feet down the yard to the alley, dug out a little place where my trash cans need to sit. I thought to myself, man, this whole snow removal thing is no joke. People die from shoveling snow. So I'm thinking to myself, well, what is it I use and what is it that I do to shovel snow? Maybe there's some life applications. Thanks so much for joining. So that's where this whole series comes from. Lesson number 1. Let's do a quick recap, shall we? Lesson number 1 was called Your Approach, making sure that you have the right tools before you even get started to begin shoveling. Lesson number 2 was called The Importance of Planning. We make planning so daggone complicated, it's not even funny. It doesn't have to be. You can do advanced planning, you can do in-the-moment planning, you can do off-the-cuff planning, but planning is important. So I talk about a really quick and dirty way of taking a project and separating it into either 3 or 4 bite-sized pieces and going from there, okay? Part 3 was from the top down, not from the bottom up. And I talk about the fact that when you're shoveling snow, you don't want to be foolish and stick the snow shovel to the bottom and try to lift 2.5 feet of snow on one shovel. That's how you get a heart attack. That's how you have a stroke. That's how you pull muscles and get your body all discombobulated and could find yourself in great pain, if not worse. You don't want to do that. There's a heart. I appreciate it. So lesson number 3, part 3 was top down, not bottom up. Today we're going to talk about proper footing. Now, I'm going to give you this rather quickly because I know I've been running my mouth. Proper footing is this. Whenever I approach a snowfall shoveling situation, first thing I like to do is find me a spot somewhere that will be a good base for me to move forward with shoveling. And I dig out a nice square for myself so that I can operate from that area. That becomes my base. That becomes my starting point. And normally I will connect these pathways that I shovel from that base. But let me tell you about the base. The base is always down to the ground. I can see the ground bare. It's not filled with slushy snow. It's not filled with ice. Where I put my feet is solid, stable ground. So I start from a position of being on solid, stable ground. That helps me because then each step forward or each shovel full of snow forward, I'm also creating a place of being on solid ground. So I take my solid ground and I basically extend it because, after all, that's what it's all about, right? We're creating pathways for ourselves, our loved ones, our family members, and we want to connect our little piece of what we've shoveled to our neighbors. And hopefully they're doing the same thing, taking some similar approaches so that the pathway we have going through our street or our sidewalk is one that's clear, wide enough to be able to get people through, but that it is cleared enough that people aren't trying to traverse on ice and slushy snow and in conditions that are potentially harmful. Solid ground is really, really important. You want to create a little place for yourself for solid ground. And then you also want to extend that little piece of solid ground so that there's nothing but stability in your lives. Now, let me be personal real quick, if I haven't already. Let me ask you something, friends. I'm not trying to be judgmental. It's because of the hard knocks and the hardship that I went through is even why I do this whole encouragement thing anyway. In this fourth lesson, I want to ask you a question for you to ask yourselves. How stable is the ground that you're standing on? Financially, relationship-wise. If you're a parent, thanks for joining. How stable is the ground that you're standing on as a parent? If you're a grandparent like I am, how stable is that ground? I'm 46 years old. Unfortunately, both of my parents died. My dad died at 19, and my mom died just 6 years ago when I was 40. But I remember going through the challenges with my mom as she was getting older and becoming more feeble. And, she had lived an incredible life. So I remember when she got into her late 70s and she passed away when she was 83, I believe. I remember watching her, her faculties and capacities starting to decline. And my brother and I found ourselves in a situation where we were caring for an aging parent. Well, you have your own lives because my brother is married, I'm married, we've both got children and so forth. And so you got to have a good, stable personal situation in order to be able to care for anybody else of any degree of significance, right? Like you can't be a good caregiver to somebody else, thanks for joining, and the things around you are falling apart, okay? That's how you get yourself into serious emotional problems because what you'll wind up doing is becoming bitter. You'll wind up getting way too tired. You'll be tired. You won't be good to your wife, your partners, your children, and the people in your immediate zone because you'll be exhausted. And you definitely don't want to be in a situation where those that love you in your immediate circle see you, thanks for joining, giving so much time and energy and effort to anybody, mother, father, it doesn't matter, outside of your immediate sphere, and then you come back home and you're tired and you have, no energy in anything for the people around you. You really don't want to do that, right? So basically what you want to do is this. Create stability. Create a situation where you are standing on solid ground as often as you possibly can. Now, when I jump into that mountain of snow, I dig for a while to create that place of solid ground. I work on it. It's no point in me moving forward when I'm slipping and sliding. There's a video that I love. I watch it every chance I get on YouTube, and it's called the 9-second fall. And this guy is shoveling snow. I don't know if anybody's seen it. This guy is shoveling snow, and he starts to fall, and he's falling and like slipping and trying to grab a hold of stuff for like 9 seconds, and he never actually hits the ground. He winds up just throwing his shovel. But it is truly one of those comedic moments And I mean, it's crazy, but and that's how we do things. Is the ground we're standing on is not solid or stable enough, and then we're trying to move forward. So here's what I want to ask you, as I ask myself: is the ground you're standing on, and you pick the area of life? Is it relationships? Is it your health? Is it somebody else's house? Is it your marriage and the connection that you have with your partner? What's the area? Is your situation, your relationship with your boss, is that a jacked up situation? What about your relationship with your employees if you have any direct reports? Are you standing on solid ground? I want you to. 6 years ago, I wasn't. My life was a mess. And it's funny because as I look back over the past 6 years, here's what's interesting. Not a whole lot in terms of the circumstances that brought me to tears have changed, if I'm really honest with you. A lot of the issues still exist, and some of the issues are even worse. But here's what's changed. I have. My mental, emotional, spiritual approach to those issues and approach to my life on a daily basis has changed dramatically. That's why thanks so much for your hearts. That's why I do the morning glide. That's my cup of coffee. It's the way I get amped to get to work. My job is no joke. I mean, I've got 10 of the finest employees on planet Earth that report to me. But the job that these representatives have is challenging. Customer service, dealing with people on the phone. You become the doormat to the world. People call you, they curse at you, they curse you out. They're screaming and yelling, and then you hear that one phrase that no call center representative wants to hear. You know what? Let me talk to your supervisor, right? I mean, how many of us have been in those situations? That's a tough day. It's funny because on my job, I'm only 6 months into this position, and I just got trained on all the systems so that I can physically be a help and support to my team and to our students. So I know how to register my students down. And it's funny because after a day or two, I remember going back to the team going, man, do I appreciate y'all, because this job is no joke. It is tough. The average call center representative has a lifespan of 18 months. I work with a group of people where the least tenured person has been there a year. I've been there 6 months. I've got people on my team in the same role and position for 20 plus years. Do you know how physically, emotionally, and mentally sound these people are? They are freaking phenomenal to be that far into 20 years answering phone calls. What's my point? When I talk to each one of them, they each have this little personal routine that they use every day. It gets them to work. It keeps them up. We are a team full of clowns. We love to laugh and joke because we realize laughter helps us to be much more hospitable to one another, to our customers, quote unquote, and it keeps us healthy. So I'm asking you, friend, once again, for the third or fourth time, how stable is the ground you're standing on? If it's not, then work hard at mating. Yeah, work hard at mating. I didn't tell you that. It was a slip. Okay, work hard at making the ground you stand on as stable as you can possibly make it. Listen, I so appreciate your time. You guys out there in Periscope land, thanks for joining. You are my cup of coffee. This is what gets me pumped during the course of the day. So mine is granite. Okay, all right. Hey, hello to you, friend. How are you? How are you? So you get what I'm trying to say, right? A simple lesson from shoveling snow you can apply to so many different areas in your life. Join me right here in my living room this afternoon, everybody, on a Periscope broadcast. I'm so pumped about expanding the division. Look, I sat upstairs at my work desk in 2010 at a desk with my head in my hand, and I cried. I cried because I was all kinds of jacked up. My life was a mess. My approach to things was not the best at all. I was not healthy at all. I hit the wall. I had a nervous breakdown. Whatever you want to call it, I wasn't James. And I sat there for a second and I thought to myself, yeah, this is not good. I don't know where I'm going to go. But I don't know where it came from. I just thought maybe there's some other folks out there that feel like I do. And I started creating this whole thought process of reaching people that were in the same situation that I was in. I didn't have a degree or a certification. I definitely was not a certified counselor, but I knew what the hell pain looked like. I tell people all the time when I see them, whether I work with them or not, I say, hey, friend, you okay? And they ask me, well, what do you mean I'm okay? Yeah, I said, let me tell you why I'm asking. It's because that look you have on your face right now, that look that you could burst into tears just like that, I've seen that look many times. I've worn that look many times. I've gotten up and gone into the bathroom and looked at the image in the mirror and said to myself, yeah, that's that look. That's that look you have on your face when you are just about to come undone and unravel. Spread your wings, Dr. Falcon. Hey, thank you so much for that kudos. That means the world to me. Thanks for the hearts, and thank you for even joining this broadcast. But you guys understand what I'm saying. You know the look on somebody's face because you've worn it before. When you worry, when the money's tight, or when one of your kids is in trouble. Do you know how painful it was for me to sit in the ER yesterday and watch my grown pregnant daughter have the doctor dig into her ear with all kind of tools and utensils, and to see her eyes water up? I will never be an old enough parent that to see when my children's eyes tear up, and for me to not get into a Papa Bear protection mode. I mean, she's in a hospital. They're not trying to hurt her, but you know what I'm saying. It's kind of like when you take your little baby to the doctor and you get shots. I remember I took my youngest recently. She's 9, so this was a couple years back. And I remember they put her up on a little table and they gave her shots. And she screamed, and she was looking at me like, Dad, why are you letting these people do that to me? Broke my heart. Maybe I'm just that soft a guy. I don't know. My point is this. You understand and you acknowledge and recognize pain in your own life. And so you will definitely acknowledge and recognize pain on somebody else's face, in somebody else's life. That's what encouragement is key is all about, people. It's crazy because encouragement by itself as a concept, I will admit, is quite corny until you need some. As a matter of fact, that's the tagline of everything I do. Encouragement. Yep, it's corny until you need some. So we're going to put a bookmark in this. I'm going to do the last of this series of broadcasts on life coaching lessons from snow removal tomorrow, okay? Tomorrow, Sunday, going to be early in the morning. Get your Sunday started off right. And then we're going to we're going to close the book on this particular life coaching lesson. Thank you for the hearts, friend. I really appreciate that. And then I got so many more series to do. So leadership today at 2 o'clock right here on Periscope. Join me. And then next Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, I don't know the date right offhand. Hold on. Got my tab right here. Don't move. This coming Wednesday, I'm going to start a special broadcast on a series on, look at my calendar, on relationships. So today is the 6th of February. Wednesday is the 10th of February. So join me this coming Wednesday. It'll be in the evening. I'm thinking about 9 o'clock-ish, 8 o'clock-ish, maybe even later. It's going to be some special series of discussions, because part of what I have for encouragement is key is a division for men to get together and encourage other men to help make the relationships that men have with the women in their lives healthier. And then I've got a similar division for women, because you know what happens, ladies. Guys get together with other guys and we talk badly about women, right? We don't have any good things to say a lot of times, and I'm sure women do the same thing. What these two divisions are geared to do is to have that woman-to-woman discussion and that man-to-man discussion be a little bit healthier. So I'm actually the director of kind of like an underground group of guys. And I say underground because a lot of these guys are in profession, some are in ministry, and they have some serious issues with the women in their lives, their girlfriends, their daughters, their mothers, their wives, and they can't really go to counseling because of the positions they have. And so a lot of times, I will work them through and walk them through different things. It's incredibly humbling because who am I, right? And all I try to do is to be a friend. But the one thing that I consistently hear from these guys is that they don't feel like women are listening to them. And so I want to talk about some of these things. Obviously, as a father of girls, with the influence of femininity on my life, had a great relationship with my mother. I'm not saying that I'm special, but I believe that my parents invested in wanting me to be raised right. Now, whether or not I've adhered to that energy and those teachings, I don't know. Time will tell. But the one thing I am is I am 150% man. I'm a heterosexual man with an incredible sensitivity for women, with an incredible sensitivity to what we as men think and feel in our relationships with women. I'm going to bring some of that to you if you don't mind this coming Wednesday. So it's going to be incredibly interactive. I'm going to let my hair down, invite you to let your hair down too. You'll love it. It'll be awesome. Join me this coming Wednesday. Now, I flap my gums quite a bit if you haven't realized. So do this because I throw a lot of information out. Just go to my Facebook page, Encouragement is Key, or go to my blog page, Encouragement is Key, and under the blog page, there's a tab that's called Breaking News. All of this stuff that I'm telling you, you can find in those two places, okay? I'm listening from Russia. See, my friend? And you've been on here quite a bit. I know. I recognize your profile picture and the name. See, this is what I'm talking about. Thank you for that comment. Thank you for joining. From 6 years ago of wondering what the heck was I going to do, now I'm sitting in front of people in my living room in Baltimore, and I'm projecting the message of encouragement to Russia. This big old dude may burst into tears. Do you understand how powerful a principle that is? So I want to encourage you, friend, whoever you are, be an influencer. The ugly that you've experienced in life, I know I'm getting a little preachy here, but hey, walk with me for a minute. The ugly that you've experienced in life has a purpose. You hear what I just said? The pain in your life has a freaking purpose. The purpose is somebody else out there is in need of hearing what you went through. The first book I did was called, I can't even think of the name of the first book now. First book was called Up and Over, Encouragement in Tough Times. And it basically was a series of posts that I did from some of the things that I put on that Facebook page. And I remember I gave it to my good dear friend who's my pastor. I've known this cat 25 years. He pops over from time to time. He's a really good friend, but he's also a spiritual mentor. We're the same age. He's in a pastoral role, so I acknowledge, the setup that he's in. And I remember he came over one time. He's like, "Falc, what's going on, man?" And I gave him the book, and he looked at it. And it was funny. He looked at the book. Now, this is only what a real pastor and a real friend would tell you. I remember he was sitting right here in the living room. He looked at the book, and he went, "Hey, this is really nice, man. I'm proud of you. I'm glad you were talking about this." He said, "But this is too pretty." And I'm thinking, what? Man, do you know the time, energy, and effort it took me to produce this thing? And he could tell, and he wasn't trying to slam me, but he said, "James, you've been through hell, man." He was like, "This book doesn't even touch what you've been through. You need to write a book that talks about the ugly, because somebody out there don't need pretty. They need ugly. They need what happened when you were blowing snot bubbles and crying and and running around, half cocked and crazy." He said they need to see and hear that. And I sat down for a second. I said, "Pastor, you know what, man? You're right." I said, you're absolutely right. So my third book was called Pitch Black, Navigating the Darkness. And these books, I took them down from my library. I'm editing them. I'm going to put them back up so that you all can have the benefit of them as well. I use a company called blurb.com as my publisher online. And the book is called Pitch Black. The cover is black, and you've got to tilt it just to see the writing on it. But the whole point about is the ugly. Friend, whoever you are, your ugly, I'm talking about your experiences, means something to somebody. Look, I want to invite you, do what I'm doing. Do Periscope, man. You can sit in your home and broadcast across the planet. Anyway, man, am I appreciative of you guys listening. Am I pumped? I'm excited. This 46 year of life thing, I'm wanting to just bust wide open and bust loose. And I appreciate you guys tolerating me for these few minutes. Look, nothing but blessings on you and your households. And hang out with me for a little bit. Today at 2 p.m. It's going to be about 45 minutes. And then this coming Wednesday. But go to the Facebook page, Encouragement is Key. Or go to my blog page by the same name, Encouragement is Key. And you'll see all of this stuff that these gums and jaws have been yapping about. So since I don't have to go to work today, there's not going to be a morning glide. I'm going to get back to you on that this coming Monday. We're going to glide in. I'm an oldies but goodies guy. So when I do my morning glide, I like to do some Earth, Wind, and Fire. By the way, hey, y'all, anybody out there an Earth, Wind, and Fire fan, hit me with some hearts if you are. Earth, Wind, and Fire. Did you see where the lead singer passed away. What was his name? White, Maurice White, something White. He passed away, man. I know he was suffering and struggling health-wise, but, you know, if anybody's an Earth, Wind, and Fire fan, like I am, that's what I listen to in my morning collide. Bill Withers, the Doobie Brothers, you know, all the oldies, Saturday Night Fever, the Bee Gees. You guys remember those guys? That's what I play on my way to work. But no morning glide today, no morning glide tomorrow. We're going to hit it up again on Monday. And until then, everybody, do this. Whatever you do, however you do it, get, be, and stay encouraged in all of it. James W. Falcon, and I will see you next time. Peace.